Now do me a favor and just hear me out for like 1 second. Now back in the day, I used to do many normal, or dare I say healthy, dishes on this channel, like the vegan mac and cheese, the grilled shrimp tacos, the fruit sushi. Not every single video was a giant 4-foot long burrito or a pizza cake. So this week, I am taking the liberty to try to go back to my roots a bit, not do an Instagram poll so you guys can vote on the nastiest, most unhealthy, cheesiest, fattiest, deep fried thing that takes me all day, and do a very nice, healthy, simple looking vegan vegetable chowder. I also get a lot of messages from vegetarians and vegans that I don't do enough recipes for them, and I kind of agree, even though the past few months I haven't really chose the recipes I've been doing, but this one is for you. I'm very excited to give my internal organs a break on this one today, so let's get right into it. Sticking with the theme of going back to my roots, I am going to list out the ingredients for you guys. Maybe some of you will make this. The first thing I grabbed was some non-dairy milk. I'm going to use some unsweet soy milk. Some vegetable broth and kosher salt, a head of cauliflower and olive oil, some asparagus and fresh basil, some leeks, cold water, a lemon, a few potatoes, garlic, and unfortunately because I can't have peas, we're using some frozen green and yellow string beans. Now I'd say 85 to 90% of the work in this recipe is just prepping all of your vegetables. So I'm gonna start with the cauliflower. Typically, cauliflower rice is made by chopping up cauliflower, throwing it in a food processor. I don't have one, so I took the time to send this through my cheese grater, which is supposed to work just as well, just take a little bit more time. You also want to chop up your fresh leeks, which I think I can say this is the first time I've ever used this as an ingredient on this channel. I'm not super familiar with it either. I can say that the smell reminds me of picking onion grass out of my backyard as a child, which isn't a bad thing, I suppose. But then I chopped up my asparagus. I also prepped 5 cloves of garlic. You don't have to mince it or slice it, just keep them whole and crushed. Add 5 to the list, whoever is counting out there. I then ripped open my bag of frozen beans, which I kind of feel guilty using something frozen. It shouldn't really affect the flavor or the outcome too much, so I'm not too worried about this. And finally, our potatoes. Yes, I'm using russet potatoes instead of red-skinned. I had some left over from the Alago last week. Also, yes, I nicked my thumb at some point in this process. I don't know when, but yeah, there was blood. Now we can finally get to cooking some of this stuff, and I'm gonna start with my Dutch oven, which I'm very pleased to see how much usage I'm getting out of this after the recipe that shall not be named. But once I had my cauliflower rice, my leeks, my garlic, and some kosher salt in there, and allowed that to sweat down a bit for a couple minutes, I added in 4 cups of my vegetable stock, which is more than that 1 carton I showed you at the beginning, and then 2 cups of my soy milk. I will add that a nut milk will probably work better with this flavor profile, either an almond or a cashew or something. For obvious reasons, I cannot use those. But once your mix comes to a boil, you want to turn it down to medium-low heat and let it simmer off for about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to start roasting our other vegetables. I really like the fact that the only fat in this whole recipe really is coming from the small amounts of olive oil we use just to start the pan with. There's no cream, there's no butter or milk. If this turns out good, I will be surprised, to be honest. But we shall see. I finished this off with some of my fresh basil and I zested a quick lemon on the side. You use the whole lemon, added that in as well, and this is looking and smelling pretty good, so I set it aside. Lastly, we have to tend to our potatoes. I just used a saute pan for this. I added as much water as I could without overflowing the thing. I also don't know the science behind why you're supposed to add cold water to potatoes. If somebody would like to enlighten me, I'd be more than happy. And about 10 minutes later, once your potatoes are fork tender, you want to drain them in the sink, and we can start to throw this all together. Now the last hurdle in this recipe for me is the fact that I don't have a stick blender. I'm assuming a normal blender will work just as well. We shall see, I suppose. I had to do this in batches, obviously, because the whole mix didn't fit in. Also, watch the very hot splattering of your soup. Once I had the whole thing pureed and looking pretty good, I added in my bean and asparagus mixture, and then my potatoes right on top of that. You're also supposed to add some fresh lemon juice, which I only added half because it kind of seemed like a lot, and then a little bit of salt and pepper at the end. I will admit that this doesn't look like the most appetizing thing in the world. Kind of looks like a split pea soup gone wrong, but let's see how it tastes. I'm really rooting for this one, guys. There are little to no vegan recipes that I can eat because of all my food allergies, so if this is good. I also really like all the ingredients in it, so cheers. I would be baffled to find out that this had no type of dairy or fat in it besides a little bit of olive oil. Wow. Everything's cooked well. The flavor is not like something I've had before. You get the sour lemon, the bitter basil leaves. That is really good though. I've never been a huge fan of putting like big pieces of fresh basil and stuff. If you get a lot of it in a bite, it's kind of overwhelming. But overall, this is really good. Even if you changed up the other ingredients in this, just use that base, that cauliflower and soy milk base. That is like really impressing me. I'm a fan. I'm glad I picked this one this week. This gets a 8.9 out of 10. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, slap a like on this one for me. I'm sure the Instagram polls will be back next week, so don't panic. Also, I have another video for you on Sunday. That's why I don't feel too bad about just choosing a random recipe for this one. Follow me over on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already. Other than that, have an awesome weekend. I'll see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my A-team. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.